Now, with inflation at 8.6% and climbing, you're going to need some help to get back to financial safety. Call them, and Noble Gold's experts will share their knowledge of gold IRAs, so you don't have to worry about a thing. And if you're quick, they're giving away an incredible 1/10 ounce American gold proof coin with every qualifying IRA or 401k rollover. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call the team now on 877-646-5347 to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com.
And any Republican, African American Republican, is just crucified by they're called white supremacists. I still have not figured out how that works, but that's what they call them. And she has been outspoken and saying a lot of things about the Democrat Party, and she said she is going to continue to speak out about it and directly say to Black people, they are not for you. And I applaud that, because I have been saying that for years, and I was called a racist for saying it, that the Democrat Party does not do the Black people any favors. One of the things that I think is beginning to happen is that the Democrat Party is losing their base. They're losing Blacks, they're losing Hispanics. Hispanics have begun to wake up. One of the things that Hispanics are mad about is the open border.
Right.
And so they're losing their base. So now they want an open border so they can get a new base. They can have new people who come in. You kind of at some point go, why don't you just change your policies?
The point is if Trump gets 90% of the vote, that's going to be very difficult to wipe away in one evening on election night.
Yeah. So, at any rate, I applaud her, and I would like to say to Amisha, welcome aboard. It's not a perfect party, but it is.
At least we're on the trail of truth, not on the trail of distruth.
Yeah. At least as well. At least we are we're trying. At any rate, yeah. So she said, somebody asked her the question. I saw her interviewed on Newsmax, of course, and they asked her, are your constituents happy with you? And she said, yeah, because her constituents agree with her. The grief she's getting is from the what is the word I'm looking for?
Suburban Democrats.
Well, the establishment Democrats. That's the word. Okay, the grief she's getting is coming from the establishment Democrats. What, as in our party, we call them rhinos, but I don't know. Has anybody ever called them dinos? But the Democrat
Dino is very good.
Did
you just come up with that off the top of your head?
Popped into my pea brain. I don't know what I'm talking about. The Democrat Party, in my mind, and maybe I'm missing something, they used to care. They used to be different. They used to have values. I disagreed with them on almost all of their policies, but I didn't disagree with them on the basic issues. I disagreed with them on their approach to some of the things, but they have just gone off the rails, crazy, insane, and evil. Did you know that in California, they voted down a bill that would have made human trafficking a greater crime than it is? And they voted up a bill, not the people. I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the legislatures. They voted up a bill that would allow a person, a mother, I guess, and it's really hard to actually kill a baby up to 28 days after it is born.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Now, they're always saying that abortion is for a woman's health or whatever. That's really BS. But how does that help a woman's health? What the heck? That has nothing to do. Put the child up for adoption whatever. I know a lot of people who were adopted under those circumstances, and they are happy and living productive lives and all of that. But how in the world, what? That's just almost unbelievable. It's just evil is what it is. It is evil. It is evil. It is evil. And there is nobody who can talk me out of saying this. I watched a Jim Caviezel on Steve Bannon's The War Room, and he is a very quiet spoken guy, but he gets very, very passionate. You know, he's the star of the movie The Sound of Freedom. And he really called out the evil of the media and Hollywood and all these and the Pope. I mean, he gives a very, if you have an opportunity to watch it, I would encourage you to watch it. A very passionate speech about how are you going to stand before God one day, knowing that you allowed babies to be killed in the womb, but also out of the womb, and also the human trafficking that you're turning a blind eye to. And you know,
we don't have to be polite on this broadcast. It's not human trafficking. It's enslaving kids. They enslave them to do their bidding. They disconnect them totally from their family. They know nothing else but their slave masters. It's just the same thing as happened to Black people 200 years ago. The same thing is going on right now.
Well, it is, and it's to children, and it's even worse. I mean, it's worse. And as Jim Caviezel points out, with this law in California with killing a baby. So what do you want to harvest their organs? Because that's another thing that they do.
Well, that's what adrenochrome is. That stuff.
Exactly right.
They extract it from the kids.
And this is all part of it. All of these things are part of it. And he calls out the Pope, and he calls out. But I will tell you this. One of the things he said, and I remembered it kind of. In 2017, President Trump signed an executive order, and one of the parts of it were that his Department of Homeland Security, the Border Patrol people, whatever, that they were supposed to prioritize human trafficking. They were to prioritize this cause, and that they were supposed to go, after the people and rescue the children. And that this was part that Tim Ballard met with President Trump and encouraged him and told him, yes, we need a wall, and this is why we need a wall. And do you know who stood against President Trump when he was trying to get the wall built? Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, and other Republicans. And I'm calling you all out. I'm calling you out, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and all you other rhinos and people in Congress who would not support President Trump building the wall. The blood of these children, the blood of these people, all of this stuff is on your heads and your hands. You are just as guilty because you refused, because you didn't like the man in the White House. Too bad. And Jim Caviezel was right when he said, God, you will answer to God for what you have done with this information and for what you didn't do, because there's a sin of commission, there are sins of omission. And I'm sick and tired of seeing you people taking Donald Trump is, I don't care what you think about the man. He did more for this issue. And by the way, he is showing this movie in Bedminster, and he has invited a lot of ministers, pastors, whatever. He's invited a lot of people with morals to come and watch it with him. Tim Ballard will be there. Jim Caviezel will be there. I don't know who else will be there, but he at least is doing something. And as Jim Caviezel said, President Trump, he made a statement to President Trump. He said, when you watch this movie, you, sir, can be at peace because you have done more than anybody else to address this issue. That's all I have to say about that.
I can't even talk right now because the thing that movie did for me was I never understood what human trafficking was, believe it or not. I thought, oh, they're bringing in gardeners or people to cut the grass or something like that. You say it like it is. This is nothing but child slavery. Don't use human trafficking. It's child slavery. And these idiots, these evil people will pick out some nice looking 6-year-old girl and use her until they're done with her. And I mean, in the worst possible ways. And it's just sickening. I just didn't realize the scope and the depth of it.
It is sickening and it is evil. And you are doing the bid of Satan if you are participating in it, or even if you are just turning a blind eye to it and not wanting to get involved in it. I keep going back to Jim Caviezel. He is such a man of faith. And he said this, Bill, do you want to have many friends, many people like you, or one love you? And he's not talking about, he's talking about Jesus. He's talking about God. Do you want to be in God's favor, or do you want to just be popular? Well, and also this man has paid a huge price for, first he was Jesus in the Passion of the Christ. And now, now they're saying he's a QAnon person or whatever. I don't really even care if he is. He's doing the right thing by doing this movie and speaking out and in places and calling people out. And, the movie has actually, I think at this point, it's grossed $52 million.
Oh, it's 40 million in the first weekend. So I'd be surprised if it's not beyond that.
It may be beyond that, but it beat out, Indiana Jones.
The reviews on Indiana Jones was that this series is getting a little long in the tooth. He's milking this for his retirement.
Yeah. Well, Hollywood needs to wake up. But in any case, I don't know what more we can say. And I would encourage people again to find it playing in your area. And if you cannot go, pay for somebody else to go. There's a way to do that on their website. And particularly people of God. If you say you belong to God, then you need to care about
this particular issue. And just remember, it's not human trafficking.
Right. It's not
slavery. It's simple slavery.
Right.
We treated the black slaves better, far better than they're treating these underage kids.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I can't even believe how you could possibly be an agent and do this type of work day after day. I mean, I'd lose it. I'd just take that pistol out and find one of those guys and blow them away without no trial, no nothing.
That's right. It is really, really hard not to think that way. But in another note and another issue, the idiots in the White House have announced the Operation Atlantic Resolve, and they're calling up 3,000. They're augmenting
reservists.
The active. Yeah, they're calling up 3,000 reservists, but I was going to read this. They're augmenting the active armed forces of the United States for effective conduct of Operation Atlantic Resolve, which 3,000 members of the reserves for fighting in Ukraine I don't understand. Do you?
They want to win. That's why.
So
I mean, the hardy forces of the Ukrainian side, a lot have been killed, and they didn't have that many to go around to begin with. And so they can let Putin win, or they can start sacrificing Americans to the cause.
Yeah, I guess. And I don't know. But almost another side to the human trafficking is this, and people do not realize this, and they need to understand this transgender thing is not about equal rights for transgender people. It is not about that. It is, and when they did the Pride Parade, they chanted, we are queer, whatever. We are coming for your children. We want your children.
Right.
And this is a whole nother slavery type of issue where they have these children who are bullied in school or whatever, and they're not happy with who they are. They don't know who they are, and they try to convince them, well, you're transgender, and then they mutilate
birthday
them.
party. First, they give them the birthday party,
and they
make them feel
mutilate them.
good.
They
Yeah.
basically mutilate them. And in some school systems, I heard this woman in Ohio talking about this. The counselors in schools are being told, don't tell the parents. You know, if the child is transgender, do not tell the parents. We'll call them whatever name they want to be called by, and then they take them for surgery, and we won't talk about that, but that it is another way of just enslaving them. And then
you mean your kid comes home with minus his parts,
I mean,
and the parents don't know anything?
How
can that be legal? That cannot be legal.
Well, they're passing all kinds of laws to make it legal, and
you can't break a parent's chain of custody of his own child. That won't stand scrutiny.
Well, how many kids? But
yeah, how many kids have to go down before that? This is just evil.
It is evil. It is
pure evil surfacing all over the place, thanks to red screen Joe Biden.
Exactly right. It is evil. It is wrong. It is all the other things. And it's also led to a lot of suicides. And then they're on drugs for the rest of their life. And then they wake up and they want to transition back, and they can't. They are infertile. You know, the girls will never know what it's like to breastfeed a baby if they're not completely, if they just lose their breast and maybe their breast, they won't ever know that. They won't know. They don't know who they are. And I'm gonna make it a little personal. I was bullied a lot when I was in school. I was made fun of. I was bullied. I was teased from the minute I got to school until I left, even to the point that some teachers would speak out about it. It caused me a great deal of pain. But I sure as heck, I knew I never, if somebody had come to me and said, your problem is you're a boy now, or whatever, I don't know what would have happened to me. I can't say that I wouldn't have been strong enough to withstand it or whatever. But so that for that reason, I have a real heart for these kids, because I know what it's like to be pointed at and laughed at and told you're ugly or whatever, stupid and all of those other things. And I'm just saying that that's what happens to these kids. Now they're celebrated, as you said, they get the birthday party and they're told it's just a whole nother thing. And if you think that it doesn't have anything to do with pedophilia, you're also wrong, because that's another part of this whole thing. And I don't want to end that way, but I do want to end with a little bit of sanity, I guess. And that is that in the cycling world, the biological men are banned from competing as women in global cycling sport. They cannot compete with women. They will now compete in their own category. Fine, let them be transgender cyclists. I don't care. But this is a whole nother thing, a war on women type of thing, where, biological men were allowed to compete in other sports, and at least in this sport.
It won't stand. This is just temporary. Trump will wipe this out on day one.
Which is another reason why he needs to be back in the White House, and we need to continue to pray for him and support him. And as somebody said last night, they were talking about the polls, and they said, well, every time he's indicted, and he's getting ready to be indicted again by the woman in Georgia, every time he's indicted, he goes up in the polls. And somebody said, how many indictments will it take before he's at 100%? We do know that DeSantis's donors are about to have a heart attack.
I feel bad for DeSantis. He just shouldn't have even gotten in this race to begin with. I mean, this was so obvious that this was going to happen, and I think he deserves better. And it's kind of forced him into the rhino camp more than I think is really where he's at. I don't think he's at the Jeb Bush level of stupidity.
Well, the thing that would say to him is get out, drop out of the race, have a mea culpa moment. You can jump in 2028, but
Really, and you'd be all the better for it,
he would, and if he could, the
You
more
know, say I was wrong. It doesn't do anything but accrue to your benefit to admit you're wrong. It's never like everybody has a checkbox. Aha, you were wrong here, and I'm going to remember this for the rest of your life.
That's right.
Because everybody's wrong.
4 years is a long time, and people their memories aren't usually that good about stuff. And if you get out now and you get out for the right reasons, you're the governor of Florida. Right. Florida needs you there.
You've done a great job in Florida. And, people can see into a person's soul a lot more than the person thinks they can see. And, he can get up, and if he's true of heart and spirit, the next time he runs, he'll just get up and say, yeah, I was wrong about Trump. I shouldn't have gotten that. And they'll see right through whatever political persona mask they're trying to present and see that he's telling the truth. And that'll wipe away, whatever bad feeling they had about him before. It'll happen so fast. Just do it. Tell the truth.
Well, I have to say, his donors are the same donors who donated to Jeb Bush. And a public statement to the donors of these people: wake up. You're choosing the wrong candidates. Yeah. You want to get rid of Trump, but you're not jumping on the right bandwagon. So
there's a bandwagon already in full motion going down that road. So
yeah,
don't try to start a different one.
Yeah.
That's just a fool's errand.
Yeah. Maybe you should put your money to better things, like, I don't know, rescuing children who are being trafficked. You have a lot of money. Money is power.
It could go a long way, save a lot of souls.
That's right.
You can send one of them right here if you want.
That's right. You're trying to gain power, political power. Why not try to do some good? Just a thought. Do you want to say anything about Kerry?
Kerry?
Yeah. John Kerry.
John Kerry got his comeuppance in Congress. who was it that interrogated him that really got him? You know who I'm talking about. Yeah, that was a story I'm going to actually do later today on my channel.
Yeah.
Oh, John Kerry, after John Kerry slipping through the weeds for all these years, finally got stuck before a congressional committee, and they put very simple, direct questions to him about his ownership or his wife's ownership of a private jet. And he tried to slither on by that question, and he was caught.
Well, I found it kind of interesting. I think the congressional people should have had this video ready to play for him. But he was asked by a reporter at some point, is it not disingenuous of you to be telling us all this stuff about climate change and you're riding around in a private jet? And he admitted then, he said, well, the work that I'm doing is so important, and I can't wait in line in an airport and this and this and this, so I have to take a private jet. And he sat there in Congress and tried to pretend he had never ridden on a private jet. And then he finally had to say, well, my wife owns it. And they asked him how many times. He said, maybe once. Give me a break. His wife is jetting all over the world.
When whoever was interrogating him knew the exact date of the last time he'd been on it, which was in June sometime.
Yeah. It's like,
liar.
Pants on fire. I don't know. He's not a person I've ever had any great admiration for.
Oh, my goodness, no.
And this, of course, everybody knows how we feel about climate change. Climate changes. That's kind of what it does. And it's going to continue to do that. And
what is John Kerry doing? He's trying to empower these climate change people who the whole climate change, the importance of the whole climate change movement right now is to prevent China from having to endure any changes to prevent climate change so that their economy can grow at maximum speed and poisonousness to their populace. And the Americans development will be retarded by the same amount here to try to get China in front of them so that we can all become their human slaves also. That's what that's all about. It's just a part of China's long march scenario. It has nothing to do with the truth and nothing to do with climate.
Well, and I think New Yorkers don't want to give up wood-fired pizza.
That might be the tipping point. I don't know. It wouldn't do a thing for me, but
no, but it like you said, that might be it. I mean, all the New Yorkers tend to vote Democrat. Maybe
with their stomachs.
No, Democrat. Maybe they should wake up and see that they're trying to take away your wood-fired pizza.
Maybe a majority of Democrat voters will switch to Trump, and the Democrats will not have installed the cheaters on their voting machines. That's what we can hope. They'll keep saying, yeah, it looks bad for Trump. I think his numbers are greatly inflated. He's really behind everybody.
Yeah, let's indict him again and bring him down a notch. It doesn't work that way. I think more and more people are waking up and
I think they're going to be surprised.
I do too. I think a lot. I've heard some people talk about some of the stuff, and it's like I know that they have been listening to CNN or MSNBC or something, and I'm thinking at some point, people are, but they are waking up. But I did see a thing that a very large percentage of people do not trust the media. So one by one, they're waking up, and we're trying to do our part. As you have always said, you don't want to ever leave people without hope. And even though things are off the rails and just seems like everything is falling apart and it's probably going to get worse before it gets better, there is hope. And there is hope in Jesus. There's hope in God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. They have not taken their hand off of us. They are not going to, as my mother used to say, God didn't bring you this far to drop you on your head. I do believe that people who are perpetrating all the evils about which we are speaking will suffer the wrath of God. I know that. I believe it. I know that he is not happy with a lot of these things, but there is hope. And keep praying, keep turning to him. If my people who are called by my name will turn from their wicked ways. And you know that verse.
We all have wicked ways too. You're not irretrievably lost if you recognize your wicked ways.
Exactly. And then I will hear from heaven and heal your land. That's true for an individual. It's true for a country. And I do believe God is not a man that he can lie. And he will rescue us out of this, but he will also bring his wrath down upon those who have perpetrated evil and hurt his children. You know what Jesus said? He said, a person who harms one of these little ones, you are better off to have a millstone thrown around your neck and thrown into a river and drowned.
The sea.
Well, okay. All right, then no, she's not.
It's rare that I can correct you on biblical matters, so I just couldn't resist.
Okay, I'll start over. As Jesus said, the person who harms one of these little ones, you would be better off to have a millstone tied around your neck and thrown into the sea. And that is from, I don't know the scripture verse.
What?
Luke 17:2. I don't remember. That is from God himself, because he cares deeply about all of his children. And
I just want to say something else. Excuse me, but we kept saying that God wanted Trump to lose essentially because he had other things to reveal. And I would never have known about this slavery thing going on if we weren't in this spot at this time. So just because he made Trump lose before, he's not going to make him lose again.
No, and you're right. And in any case, God save America. God bless all of you. And God bless President Donald John Trump.
We'll see you next Saturday. Bye.
Bye.